When I got wind of this story right here and I looked at the title, I said, could they be any more horrible liars than they already are? And then sure enough, they indeed are. So this and the person in this picture, his name is Cory Ulmer, and he was a detainee at the Cook County Jail, and he ended up losing his life. Now, according to what his family was told, they were told that he passed away from a medical emergency. But when information came back, this man died from anything but in a medical emergency, because it ended up getting discovered that this man was practically beaten to death by the security guards. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, if this guy had a medical emergency, he wouldn't have all these bruises on his body. It would be something more internal, something that couldn't visibly be seen. So they really shot themselves in the foot by even coming up with that as a lie. I'm like, if you wanted to make it look like it was an accident or medical emergency, there was other ways you probably would have gone about it besides actually physically harming the guy. So they pretty much killed their own argument right then and there. So let's go ahead and see what they're talking about. A man died at the Cook County Jail last Friday following a confrontation with correctional officers in which he was beaten, body slammed, and injected with sedatives, records show. Cory Ulmer, age 41, was described in an internal report by the sergeant in charge during the incident as quote-unquote combative and disobeying his jailer's command. At one point, Ulmer managed to quote-unquote headbutt the sergeant. Ulmer's attorney said he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and had a history of manic episodes, but in this establishment, they never really take a black person seriously, even when they're having a true medical emergency. I mean, we can go down the laundry list of those who actually have had manic episodes and they still got treated as if they were completely fine. Ulmer was handcuffed with his hands in front of his body and was sedated by a jail nurse moments before he died, according to the report. Investigators from Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart's office went to the home of Ulmer's stepfather to inform the family of his death, but provided them no details. They said he got locked up and he went to the hospital, and unfortunately he didn't make it. That's all they told me, Robert Robinson said. A 2-year-old state law requires Dart's office to notify families of people who die in his custody as soon as possible in a suitable manner, giving an accurate, factual account of the cause of death and circumstances surrounding the death. This sounds like Sandra Bland all over again. Because remember, it was so many discrepancies and stories about how she died. All we know is that she went in alive and they pulled her out deceased. I mean, I think I remember her saying that she called a family member or something like that, pretty much panicking, claiming that she's probably not going to survive it. And sure enough, that's what ended up happening. And I don't think anybody was held accountable to this day for what she did. They still, at that time, tried to blame her for, first of all, even getting into the situation she was in. I remember they tried to say that she took herself out with a trash bag, but it's like, this woman just got a new job. Now, why would someone who just got a new job in a new town, a high-paying position, just want to take themselves out? That makes absolutely no sense. They actually expected us to believe that back then. And it's crazy now that you think about how time flies so fast, because I believe she she was taken out, in my opinion, back in 2015. So about 9 years ago. It's crazy how time just fully flies. It was either in 2015 or 2014, 9 to 10 years. Contacted by Injustice Watch on Monday, 2 days before it obtained the sergeant's report, Dart's spokesman said Ulmer suffered a medical emergency and was later pronounced dead at Mount Sinai Hospital. In an email Thursday, Dart's spokesperson again declined to provide details about Ulmer's death, citing an ongoing investigation, but confirmed 11 jail employees were reassigned until the investigation is complete. Basically, they about to be shuffled around until they find another place to put them. Nothing in our initial response to you was inaccurate, Dart spokesman said. Mr. Ulmer died after suffering a medical emergency. Well, let's just hypothetically say this man did have a medical emergency. It happened after he was physically beaten. So if this man has had a history of manic episodes and bipolar disorder, there were ways that they could have gone about this, and he was probably having an episode when all of this was going on, but instead of actually taking it seriously and getting him actual medical attention, they decide, you know what, how do we calm this man down? Oh, I know, let's just beat him to death. And then say he was being combative, and also say that he allegedly headbutted one of us, so we can have a reason to say that this is why we had to do what we had to do, and he just ended up dying as a result. But let's not say it's because of what we did. Let's just blame it on the quote-unquote medical emergency. Now, this man has probably had several medical emergencies in the past based on what's been documented, but he lived through all of that. But the minute he gets in their supervision, now he's gone. Make it make sense. Jesse Guth, an attorney and former county prosecutor retained by Ulmer's family, said Ulmer's family is shocked and outraged by his death. Cory's family and the people of Cook County deserve no less than full truth. He was a son, a brother, a nephew, and a cousin. He deserves to be more than a statistic, and he deserves justice. Ulmer's death, the first at the jail this year, comes 2 weeks after Injustice Watch published Dying on Dart's Watch, a year-long investigation into oversight failures in the lead-up to at least half of the 18 deaths at the jail last year, the most since 2013. Ulmer was jailed last Thursday after violating the terms of his pretrial release. Prosecutors had charged him with aggravated assault and armed robbery in January 2023, and he was released on electronic monitor after pleading not guilty. So now this is the part where they have to bring up why he's there, so you can, of course, dirty up his name, so you can give more probable cause to why he's in the position that he's in. So people who do hear about the story, the usual suspects, will see, if he wasn't doing all of this, he wouldn't be in the position that he's in right now, because you know it's coming if they get wind of it. According to Dart's spokesperson, Ulmer allegedly refused to return to his approved host site, which landed him back in jail. Ulmer's attorney in the case told Injustice Watch that Ulmer was having a bipolar episode at a bus stop and wielded a pocket knife. He was a nice guy in a tight spot, and I felt for him, said attorney Jonathan S. Goldman. Robinson said he last spoke with his stepson last Wednesday, the day before he was returned to jail. Listen, he was fine when I talked to him, Robinson said. He was at his apartment and he was talking to me about, just life, and that he wanted to get off that monitor so he could go out and seek a job. He wasn't delusional or anything. I don't know what happened. The document obtained by Injustice Watch is an incident report written by Correctional Sergeant Enrique Reyes, a 13-year-old veteran with the Sheriff's Office. Reached by phone, Reyes declined to comment. According to Reyes' report, Ulmer, described in court documents as 6'2", 220 pounds, first became combative shortly after 3 p.m. in a holding cell while awaiting transfer to the jail's mental health wing. According to the report, Ulmer was handcuffed with his hands in front when he suddenly dashed out of the holding cell, knocking aside an officer. Staff conducted an emergency takedown of IIC Ulmer, who was non-compliant to verbal orders to stand up. Ulmer refused to comply with my verbal orders to stand up and not allowing us to help him stand up, making it difficult to escort Ulmer to his feet due to his size and weight. Reyes wrote he and several officers had to readjust multiple times in an effort to escort Ulmer to the emergency room, at one point utilizing a 4-point carry, but were unable to completely lift Ulmer off of the ground. Once in the emergency room, Reyes wrote, Ulmer became combative again, headbutting Reyes and knocking off his body camera from his chest and attempting to bite his arm. Wow. I feel there are some holes in this story. Definitely. I would like to see some surveillance footage behind all of this. Really, I honestly would. Because something just seems kind of off here. Something really does. I'm not sure, but we've heard this song. We've done this song and dance before. We've heard it all before. It's just unfortunate that this is the outcome of what actually happened to this man. Hopefully the family is able to get the answers that they are looking for. I won't hold my breath that they won't. I mean, they already lied to them at one point talking about he died from a medical emergency, and then we find out this man was actually beaten to death. And they're going to try to say, well, we did that, we did everything we could, and that was the last resort. Then finding out they put a bunch of sedatives in him. Isn't that kind of what they did to Elijah McClain? And we saw what the outcome of that was. Wash, rinse, repeat. RIP to this man. And hopefully there is some kind of outcome to this, but I won't even hold my breath at the end of the day when it comes to this story, or even others like the ones before it, or even the ones that'll come after it, unfortunately.